So firstly, hi, my name's Liron. I'm from LiveHire. And we've got a couple of guests over here joining us to, I guess, partake in the conversation today. And we've got Cam McDonald from ASICS. We've got Megan Wright, and we've from Pacific National, and we've got David Wall, who's joined us from Gemini. Just quickly before we get going, we'll go through a little bit of housekeeping. I'll get the panel here to introduce ourselves. We'll have a very quick overview on LiveHire, but really the purpose of the conversation today is to talk about high volume hiring, and that's what we're going to focus on today, and keep it really conversational and easy flowing as we go through the hour. So as I said, my name's Liron. I'm one of the business development directors here at LiveHire. I've been at LiveHire about 4.5 years, and prior to that, my background is in HR and recruitment, working across Australia, New Zealand, and the UK. I'll hand over and I'll let the panel here introduce themselves because I don't think I'll be able to do it justice. So we'll start with Megan. Hi and welcome.
Hello, thanks Liron. Hi everyone. So I've been working in the industry for, let's just say, 20 plus years. I'm currently working for Manpower Talent Solutions, and my team and I manage the RPO function for Pacific National. So glad to be here today, and hopefully we've got some wise words to share.
Excellent, thank you. And David.
Hi everyone, my name is David Wall. I look after the talent acquisition function within Gemini and also our other brand, Zinfra. So we're in the utilities industry, and the best way to describe us is we own a lot of poles and gas pipelines, and also we have maintenance crews out in trucks. So what I'll probably be talking about will be through our graduate programs, but also our apprenticeship intakes too. That's where we do our high volume recruitment.
Excellent, and thank you. And Cam, hi.
Yes, hello. Hi, everyone. So I'm Cam. I am managing the talent acquisition function for ASICS in Australia at the moment. I have always been within retail and FMCG talent acquisition, so definitely my comfort space, and have dabbled a lot in that bulk recruitment sort of area as well. So hopefully have some nuggets of gold to share with you guys.
Excellent. Thanks very much, guys. Really appreciate it. So just before we get going, just in terms of some housekeeping, firstly, the session today will be recorded, and we can share this recording with everyone post session. So don't worry if you miss it, or you join a bit late, or you come and go. We can share this with you guys afterwards. In terms of, we want the session to be as interactive as possible, and the easiest way to manage that is through at the bottom of your screens you will see a Q&A sort of icon. So any questions that you guys have, either if it's related to what the I guess what the panel here are discussing, or if it's just something a bit left of center, please load your questions on through the Q&A session, and we will get through them. If we don't have chance to get through them during the conversation, we will circle back with you guys, with you post the session, to make sure that all questions are answered. We'll also be conducting a survey afterwards. So if you could please just fill out that survey, that'll be much appreciated. All right, guys. So high volume hiring, which is what we're here today to discuss. Now, this is something which can mean, I guess, means different things to different people, depending on your organization and depending on the industries and the types of people that you and the types of roles that you are recruiting. What we've tried to do is give, I guess, a general, definition, and for us, that would be, it's the name, I guess, given to the recruitment process used to hire a large number of employees, often for specific roles or for a particular time period. Now, obviously, within organizations, that may differ. If you're working in a company like Pacific National and Gemini, where you're recruiting, potentially thousands, that would be high volume. You might be a single recruiter, in a standalone role, and have to recruit 200 people a year, and you could qualify that as high volume. So what we hope today is to cover that across different organizations. Now, I appreciate, that not everyone here is familiar with LiveHire. So just to provide a bit of context as to who we are, what we do, and sort of where we play in this space. So LiveHire is a recruitment system that is really focuses on engaging talent and powering the flow of talent through your organization. And what we aim to do is to, I guess, give organizations a holistic view of all talent interested in your business. So that is talent coming into your organization. And that could be either your contingent or your contract hires, your traditional permanent recruitment, which might be that sort of ongoing BAU type recruitment, but also give you visibility over the skill sets that your current employees have, and understand what do they want to do in the future, where do they want to work, to encourage that internal mobility and encourage internal visibility. But then also, we know that that people move on from organizations. So giving you the ability to stay connected with your alumni. So when opportunities arise that may be suited to their skill set, you have the ability to re-engage or potentially bring them back into your business if the opportunity arises. We're a front-end platform all built around experience, and then we look to we look to integrate, with what would traditionally come downstream in the recruitment process, and whether that be an HRIS or an onboarding platform or a VMS. In terms of where the platform, I guess what we do, we talk about building a talent community, which is your source of truth. And that's where we see talent from all different sources will come into your community. There's suggested matching and smart algorithms built into the platform, which does the heavy lifting of the screening and the searching of candidates for you. And it enables you to build talent pipelines and start taking a more proactive approach to recruitment. And I guess if we think about it from an HR perspective, trying to streamline and automate those tasks that traditionally HR don't like doing or recruitment don't like doing, and enable you to focus on providing a positive experience. At the end of the day, we're in the people business, and we want to make sure that people are treated as humans and not just as sort of robots marched through a process. Now, core to LiveHire is what we call a unique federated profile. And effectively what that means is that a candidate has one central set of data which they can use to connect with multiple organizations. And what that enables a candidate to do is really only have one login details that they can use to connect and update across all the communities that they are a part of, which means that they don't have to manage their data in 10 or 15 different ATSs. And the benefit from a client perspective is that you're no longer in a situation where you're stuck with legacy stale data from a point in time application 18 months ago. And when you do stumble across that candidate in your database and you try and reach out to them, you get a response that says, thanks, but I'm no longer interested in those roles because that was 18 months ago. So when a candidate updates their information in one community, it updates across all the communities that they're connected with. Now, all notes, all correspondence, those are private. That is what the client owns, and the client keeps a record of that. But that centralized profile enables you to focus on engaging with talent, not just going through the admin task of asking for more updated CVs. So it's a better experience for candidates, and again, it's a better experience for HR and hiring managers. And what happens is, because of those updated that federated profile, and candidates are updating the information, we find that our clients are no longer manually having to move people into talent pools. You've got the suggested matches, which is doing the heavy lifting for you. And your job focuses on nurturing those talent pools, providing, sharing your EVP, providing a positive experience. So when an opportunity arises, you've got effectively a bench of talent that are familiar with your brand, engaged with your brand, have had a positive experience, and move through the process faster. And the way that the engagement works, everything is done via text message. So if we think about that consumer experience or that positive candidate experience, we want to try and mimic social norms. And we know that SMSing communication is by far faster and more responsive than your traditional emails and phone calls. We find, in fact, on platform, the average response time is 17 minutes to messages. And because it always comes from a number registered to your business, candidates can respond back and start that dialogue with you, as opposed to pushing one-way messages. And then what we find on the platform is that clients that do tend to adopt a more proactive recruitment approach and focus on that engagement and that experience, we find that you end up making more hires faster from your talent community than your traditional reliance on your reactive sources, i.e. your job boards. In fact, what we see across the platform is that the average time to hire for your talent community is 20 days versus almost 40 days from job boards. But when it comes to actually source effectiveness, you can have, you need 3 candidates from your talent community to make to get one on your shortlist, whereas a job board, you're still relying on 15 candidates to get one on your job board. And when it comes to actual offers being accepted, 6 candidates will accept an offer from a talent community before one rejects your offer, where we find, and this is data across 550,000 hires last year, it's effectively 1-to-1 from job boards. So if we focus on experience, if we can automate those manual tasks that traditionally we don't want to do, and we focus on that human interaction, you may end up making hires faster, but also better quality hires. And here's just a quick summary of some of our clients who have gone through some high volume recruitment in the various different industries, some of the key results that they have had through the platform. Now, what we're going to do, I'm going to, if I go over here, we've actually got a quick poll that we'd like everyone to fill out, and this should be popping up on your screen in a moment. And it's basically just some of the key challenges that we hear in the market when it comes to high volume recruitment. So if everyone could quickly fill out the poll, and then we'll move on in a moment. When we talk about speed, we're talking about often receiving high volume of applicants and being able to sort through those applicants very quickly and sort of whittle down to a shortlist. When it comes to processes, we're asking about, are we so snowed under that we're either skipping processes to sort of race the clock or to move things through very, very quickly? Lack of talent pools, that would be almost a more reactive approach to recruitment. So when we do have to go through high volume, are we already on the back foot, or are we prepared? Have we already got people in our pipelines that we can move through? Communication, well, that's and that ties into candidate experience. So how are we communicating with candidates? Are we struggling to get through? Are there time delays? Are we playing phone tag, etc.? And then we're also very conscious that the HR tech space can be quite complex, and there's many different systems that can help through the process. So, are we struggling to integrate our systems and have a seamless experience for us as users of these various platforms? All right. Now the results have come through, and it looks like finding good candidates has been the outright winner, followed closely by processes and lack of talent pools. So that's some good talking points, guys, and we'll cover through those as we go on. All right, I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. And so I guess as a good starting point, Megan, if I can throw it over to you, can you maybe just describe us, your recruitment process for high volume and, what works well?
Yeah, sure. So we did a piece of work last year where we wanted to define what high volume meant within the business at Pacific National. And we came up with 2 types of categories. So we've got high volume due to a campaign. We're expecting to have a high volume response for a particular trainee campaigns that we have. We do trainee locomotive drivers. And the second was where we've got a lot of repeat roles. So as an example, we might do high volume across the year. And we've had to adapt some of our recruitment process workflows to accommodate for those types of defined high volume. So what we've found that has worked really well is being able to integrate with the technology partners that we spoke about. And we're also being able to, plug in some different workflows as well that's worked really well. So for trainee campaigns, as an example, we have our own workflow, which includes our traditional advertising channels. We combine that with our talent pools and community searches. We've introduced some assessments into that process as well. And then we move forward with our phone screening. Information sessions is something that we've brought into the mix as well with trainee campaigns, which has been really great. And then we either move to an assessment centre or panel interviews, and then obviously through to pre-checks. When we touch on the second part, as I mentioned, with the repeat skill sets that we have, what we've actually moved towards more recently is having a master generic advert. We've got a team of resources who are working through those and then triaging them out to the different talent partners once they've been endorsed, etc. So that's starting to work nicely. It's not bogging down the dashboard for the team. And it's allowing them to spend a bit more time being more consultative out in the field with their hiring managers.
Excellent. Great. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for that overview. David, can you maybe just talk us through, because your processes are also quite unique in terms of the people you guys try and target?
Yeah, we've probably got same as Megan, we had to go through and define and and refine our processes around high volume. We're probably the same. We have some campaigns that roll out annually, the apprentice program, graduate program, trainee program. We also have roles that we just know are high volume. So for instance, an example for us is HSE professionals. We're continually, because of our projects and the nature of our projects, we're continually ramping up and ramping down. HSE professionals is just something I know we are always in the market for, particularly for good ones. Yep. So that was a really interesting exercise for us to be talent pooling. So I challenged my team with this, which is, if we know that we're always bringing on HSE professionals, we always need HSE professionals, why is it every time we get a vacancy, we have to post an ad on Seek? And that was the one where we've now actually started just proactively talent pooling and having conversations with people. So that way, when we do get the word, so to speak, we're able to activate that talent pool immediately and pull out some of those candidates. And that's been really good. The other one too that we use pretty extensively is expressions of interest. That's one of the tools that we use also, and we have and we use that to continually get that candidate flow coming through to then, and using that example where you've got volume, using expression of interest, schedulers and admin roles and these type of ones, that just because someone wasn't successful this time doesn't mean they wouldn't be successful in the next one. So again, it's that talent pooling, and we use expressions of interest quite well, and actually have a lot of them open all the time. So so that way, even though we might not have a vacancy today, we can use it to pool, and then and again, that just reduces work on the TA function.
Yeah, excellent. That's really, really good. And Cam, the type of people you try and attract are again different to Megan and David.
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, ASICS is obviously a retailer. So we are taking a bit of a different approach this year in particular. And we don't care if you don't have experience. We don't care where you come from. We're more than open to career changes. You can never have worked in the industry before, or just never had a job in general. We don't care about that. As long as you've got the soft skills that we can work with, that's what we care about. So where it gets tricky in assessing soft skills is integrating that into the screening process, because you can only tell so much from a CV. So that's where we've relied really heavily on this group interview piece that we're moving towards this year. So we're really taking the come one, come all sort of approach. Yes, it is definitely investment in terms of time, because it is an hour session and there's a lot of pre-planning that goes into that. But we've found a lot of success in that space in being able to just get a bunch of people into the room. We do a lot of different sort of rotational activities, and those activities are specifically focused on nutting out what soft skills can you bring to the table. So we've got that in place. We are also very aware that within retail, and we're not alone in our struggle here, but people are getting snapped up left, right and centre. If you take too long, you snooze, you lose. So we are really big on putting a rating framework into our application process as well. And that's going to look different for everyone. But for us, I mean, availability in retail is a number one. So we need people that are available. So if you provide an availability schedule that's, 7 days a week, then you get 5 stars. So we prioritise those candidates when inviting them through to the next stage of the process, to make sure they know we're keen, you're invited, come on board. And then they're not waiting a week for a response from us when, Nike and Adidas have already, snapped them up. So yeah, we've got our focuses currently in those 2 areas.
Yeah. And that's a really interesting point, right? Because, and in retail, I guess, a lot of the people that are working or want to work for ASICS are probably also your customers, right? So trying to find that balance, and I'm keen to understand how are you getting the balance between automating and trying to speed up the process, but then also that personal contact and making it feel tailored. How are you guys doing that?
Yeah, definitely. So we want to make sure that our candidates are getting communicated to within the first 24 hours of them putting through an application. I think that's really key. It doesn't even necessarily have to be an outcome. It's just some form of communication to say, hey, thanks for your interest. We'll get back to you in this sort of time. It doesn't have to be, a novel of a story. So for us, we send through a pretty casual sort of bulk communication to everyone that has applied. And with every job that we post, I know not everyone has this luxury, but with every job that ASICS posts, we have a plan of when the group interview is going to be, let's say. So we'll pop through some comms to say, like I said, thanks so much for your interest. Here's the plan. We're looking to host an event night on, this day, this time, more information to come. So at least they've got part of that story, so they know what to expect. And then, it basically keeps them engaged. I think it's hard to, add that personal touch when you are dealing with hundreds of applications. I don't think it's an effective, approach to call every single one of them. So for us, it's really just about the language that we use. So it's not to whom it may concern, you are formally invited to this group interview. We don't take that approach as a brand. We keep it nice and casual with the language and make sure that it's frequent and it's fast.
Yeah. And then on that, just in turn, and this is a question that came from Nikki, given the volume, how are you assessing those soft skills? Is that, are you meeting these people online, online first or face-to-face before the group sessions? How are you guys tackling that?
Yeah, so I guess in my career in general, I've tried a couple of different things. We've used VPL before as an initial screening tool. So for those of the attendees that aren't familiar, it's a pre-screening video platform that is integrated to pretty much all major ATSs. So that's where we can sort of set some pre-recorded questions that will draw out more of those soft skills. It doesn't always work amazingly because some of those candidates do crack under the pressure and kind of freak out and just exit out, and it doesn't always work. But it is really great for the likes of graduate programs where you are usually dealing with quite polished recent university graduates. They've probably done 1 million of those with KPMG and all of the other people that they've applied for anyway. So I find that's a really good tool to assess that. And then linking back to what we're doing at the moment with ASICs, with the group interviews, like I said, we are first of all focusing on that availability piece. First of all, that's our initial culling, tool. And then anyone that has availability that we can work with, we get them through to that group interview. And the activities that we're working on in those sessions are specific to, can they hold a conversation with a complete stranger? You don't have to be an extroverted person to do that. But, it's more about, here's a product, here's an information card on this piece of product. This mock candidate is going to give you a bit of a brief. What would you suggest to them? Or another one that we are currently working out is we have a section of the store that we intentionally mess up, and then we get 2 or 3 people from the session to go over to that area and fix everything that's wrong with it. So that assesses attention to detail and just willingness as well. And then we've got the likes of speed interviews where, they can basically have the field with our RMs, our region managers, and ask any questions that they have. So that kind of assesses drive. How keen are they for the role? What are their career aspirations? So it's just little things like that that we've personally found to be really effective.
Excellent. And Megan, I guess from your perspective, again, high volume, you guys get a lot of applicants. So finding that balance between personal contact and trying to automate the process?
Yeah, so we generally use the tech utilization at the top end of the funnel. So where we've got applications coming through, we do a lot of screening via our application forms. We weight that against criteria as well. And then we move forward through to assessments, which that's aligning to our values and also safety attitudes, etc., which has been great for us to then be able to determine people who fit our value system and the culture of our business. From the phone screen onwards, that's that personal interaction that we have with the candidate. So that's typically we'll have a phone screen either with a resourcer and or the talent VP. Then we move through to, similar to what Cam was saying, we have information sessions and or assessment centres, or we'll have a virtual face-to-face or virtual interview as well. It's a little bit different with us in terms of, we're right across Australian sense and regional areas. So sometimes we need to adapt our campaign and our workflow as well to the different areas that we're working with as well. And some cohorts prefer to be face-to-face, prefer to have that assessment centre feel. Others prefer to have it within that more technical kind of virtual as well. But we certainly have that blend of the tech and all of our messaging through the system, which is fantastic. And then at a certain point within that funnel, then we move to the more personal interaction with our candidates, which we find works really well.
Yeah. Excellent. Great. Thank you. Really appreciate those answers, guys. And then David, I know what you mentioned at the start, you guys have got a range of different roles that you recruit, which are all quite high volume. You got your grads, you got your apprenticeships, and then, some of those other admin type roles. So do you have different pathways and, different processes for those, or how do you manage that?
Yeah, we do. We have different pathways for, and LiveHire is good for that in terms of being able to set different workflows. So we have about 3 or 4 different workflows that we can use, moving people through stages. So that's quite a good tool for us. And we have a different pathway for our apprentices versus our graduates, for instance, just because it's slightly different, not hugely different, but a little bit different. Particularly with graduates, we have to move on graduates very, very quickly. Whereas apprentices, we have more applications and can take a little bit more time and work through. One of the big things that we use also is a predictive screening tool around values, and then we go to phone screens also. We find that that's really important. But graduates is a great example that when you're looking for engineering graduates, it's a blood sport out there. Everyone's after them. So you really have to be quick. You have to be, as soon as you get the applications, you have to. So that was our big thing, was making sure that we didn't make someone jump through 3 or 4 hoops before they kind of got to a person. It was that really, and we do this, a person screens first off at application and then decides the next step. So we kind of went down that path on purpose for exactly that, to be able to cherry pick at screening stage, which ones we wanted to then progress through our process. And obviously those that didn't look suitable, for instance, and that's really important. And like the other two were saying, that's where that personal communication can come in. So opposed to getting an automated message, it's actually a personal message in bulk, of course, but saying, thanks, we've looked at your resume and CV, and we think that you might be a good fit for us. We'd like to invite you to go to the next stage, with a name on it and those type of things. So that way the person feels that someone's looked at my CV, someone's looked at it, and now I'm happy to take those next steps, as opposed to, I think we all understand, it's like that, this step and then that step and then this step, but I haven't actually spoken to anyone. And
you get drop-offs, right? Interest kind of, and then you move to something that's not as encompassing. Yeah,
exactly. So so that was our big one, which was being able to give that personal touch as quickly as practical and possible to keep people engaged in our process. I mean, you raised an interesting one, Cam. We actually moved away from video on purpose. With grads. We saw about a third dropout as soon as we said to people, next stage is the video interviews, as in the recorded video, and we saw huge dropouts. I don't know if you've had the same experience, but we actually moved away from that on our graduate programs. Specifically for that reason. I don't know if you had the same.
100%, David. It's funny you say that. So pre-COVID, we were sort of running with that process, our graduate program, and we never seemed to have an issue with that. I mean, Aldi is where we were running this, and typically we had a great offering for graduates. The salary packet was amazing, heaps of benefits attached. So we never really had any issues. Then COVID happened, shook everything up, and it was a completely different story when we ran that next program. Our completion rate dropped by 72%. It was huge.
Wow.
So I think in general, first of all, expectations changed in recruitment processes. I think everyone took that COVID situation as an opportunity to assess what their process looks like. Where can we make it more efficient? And we did the exact same. So like yourself, we moved away from that. After 2021, we took that away. And all we kind of stuck to was specifically for the graduate program was psychometric testing. And I can see there's some questions in here as well to kind of get some more information on how we specifically assess those softer skills. There are some amazing psych tests out there, or even OPQ tests out there that can give you really exact insight to people's working personalities, personal personalities. It kind of quantifies that for you in a nice little condensed report.
See, even that, and I spoke with my team about this before this session, and of course I'm taking credit for all the work that they do. They reminded me of that. That was one of the things they actually highlighted too, was we have something similar. And the fact that you invite them to do the process and then they get something out of it. An OPQ, for instance, we don't use OPQ, but we use that in other parts. They get a report So they get that feedback, which is, I've done something, at least I got something back.
Yes.
Which is valuable and interesting. And so what we find is even though we might not have spoken to them at that stage, they stay engaged in the process because they feel as though they got something back and they got feedback. You know, OPQ is very good for that. It gives immediate feedback, and there are a number of the other ones in the market that are there. And we actually thought, my team actually thought that was a really positive step around keeping that candidate experience engaged, even though we're using technology to automate the system.
Yes.
Yeah, agreed.
And I actually love the fact that both of you guys have looked at sort of the reporting and the results of your campaigns, and then have had to tweak them, you know, or taken parts out that you thought, hey, maybe we're not getting the ROI, so we're going to do something slightly different, and to sort of see the results, and you can actually measure the difference. I think that's incredibly powerful. I guess just a quick question. Obviously, a lot of the time, and Megan, you in particular, you get hundreds of applications. Have you guys got any quick tips, or how do you guys actually just sort through the volume of applications to find that list?
Yeah, what we've done is we've set up again some different workflow processes and application questions as well that's relevant for the job skill that we're looking at. We can actually weight answers as well against those. So when we go into our dashboard, we can easily see that weight against the criteria that we've got. So we use that first and foremost, along with the filtering function as well in LiveHire, which is really good. I've turned dark here, which has been really good. So again, that allows us to, filter against criteria. So it might be, kilometres from our nearest depot. Then we kind of filter it down as well in terms of, shift work experience, etc., working to different roster patterns and so forth. So that really lets us tailor what we need to be able to get through that desktop screening initially. And then again, as you've mentioned, then we'll go through to the assessments as well and go through that. And then that's that whole values and safety alignment and so forth as well. So initially, what I do like around, particularly using LiveHire is that flexibility to be able to, adapt and tailor your process workflows or your application form to help you get through those volumes, etc. So that's been really helpful for us, as well as using that talent pooling as well. So from previous campaigns, that's helped us as well, where some people may have got that silver medalist type of outcome, where we can go back to them as well. We've talent pooled those also, so that's been a great help for us in particular to get through those volumes.
Excellent. Dave and Cam, anything to add or comment?
Same, screening questions and being able to filter on keywords so we know what we're looking for. You can cut the data in different ways. Yeah, we're probably the same as Megan. That's, then we all know that it's a bell curve. There's a whole group that you can just immediately carve out. Right to work is a classic one for us.
Yeah.
Thanks, but for us, again, graduate program, we asked them, what was your university degree? And if we're looking for engineering graduates, you're either all right. So again, we can search on those type of ones. So screening questions work really, really well for us. Cam, I don't know about.
Yeah, we're the exact same as well. I mean, salary influx is a massive thing that we are also dealing with at the moment alongside everyone else, I'm sure. So, I mean, we've got some pretty entry-level roles where people are just requesting insane money that we just simply can't offer. So, again, that's a really easy sort of, a pocket of our pool that we can remove out if monetary expectations just don't align as well.
Cool, excellent. And one of the questions that did pop up is, how do you guys structure application questions to streamline hiring? So it sounds like all three are in agreement.
And it's an art. I don't know about how you two find it. It's an art, isn't it?
It is. Yeah.
Sorry, you go, Megan. Yeah.
There you go. And I was going to say it evolves as well, right? So what you think, and after each campaign in particular, it's what are those learnings? Let's unpack it. Yes. What's worked? What do we need to, rejig for us to kind of get a better outcome next time? So it's and again, that's that flexibility and that approach that we need to, we've got to adapt to the market as well, right? And so I think that's what's good. It's not just set in stone, and it's that flexible.
It's just enough. You want to have just enough questions, but you don't want to have like 70 questions, which some of our hiring managers would love to ask. It's just enough to that. Yes, you're someone we definitely, you're in our target range, isn't it?
Yeah.
There isn't, and we did the same, Megan. It's that I need to know just enough about this person to be able to move them through, or feel comfortable that I can not look at them. So maybe that's a better way to put it.
That's it. And I mean, some of the roles that we're recruiting for, you know, you have to have certain qualifications. So that's the easy part, right? So you can kind of go through that. And there's other ones that you need to kind of add in there just to give you a bit more of a sense, as we're talking about that soft skills as well. But when you've got certain criteria that you need to meet, that's where it's great to be able to then, you know, discount the applications that just don't have the qualification to do the job that we're advertising for. So that's what we've found is really helpful as well.
Yeah, I don't know about you two, but I think I've noticed a bit of a shift in thought, maybe, and practice. My impression, certainly pre-COVID, Cam, and certainly with high volume, it used to be around screening is that I would look to have the people that I would want to take forward, and there was this whole group that, yeah, I'm not sure about them, so I don't know why they didn't make my list, but they just didn't. I feel now we screen out, and we're trying to keep more people in the process. I don't know if you guys are finding the same. So in the old, 100 resumes, and I might take 10 or 15. Now I'm finding it's like 100 CVs come through, and I'm probably trying to knock out like 20, but those other 80, I'm trying to almost, I'm at each point I'm screening out rather than screening in. I don't know if that is that how you two, because we're so tight for labor now and talent. You can't
I am annoying every business that I've been in over the past couple of years since COVID, because I am such a freak for headcount forecasting. So I think it makes our lives so much easier. I mean, what I think departments, in my experience, are really scared to do when we talk about headcount forecasting and what do we need to pipeline for in the next 12 months is they think you're going to run off and go and hire people. And they don't know if they actually need the people, which is not what headcount forecasting is about. It's just a forecast. But the reason why I'm so passionate about it is because it's really hard for us to build tailored talent pools if we don't know what the next 12 months is going to look like. So that's something that ASICS is really great at doing. They actually have a 2026 plan, which just in heaven now.
Wow.
You're showing off now, Cam.
I know. I'm really sorry to bugger anyone off, but we're doing a great job of it at the moment. But the payoff is that, to Leron's point before, is that we're not reactive to every single role that pops up. It's always going to be proactive for at least until 2026. So if you guys can influence any of your internal teams to do the same, the time to hire result, I mean, it speaks for itself.
Agreed. And that also helps with that proactive reach out as well. We've got a team that we've brought on board recently who are doing a lot of proactive reach out. So again, we know those type of skill sets that we're going to still be recruiting for over the next 12-18 months may not be suitable for them now, but again, we can talent pool them, etc., because we know there's going to be future requirements for them. So that's really important as well, to understand what those key roles are and what it looks like, as you said, in the next 12 months or so. 2026, wow, it's cool.
We're lucky.
If we did a 2026, the only thing I could guarantee it wouldn't be that number.
Well, exactly. Yes. Which is, I guess, the downfall of doing a forecast. Late in the game. But I mean, look, at least we've got a draft.
Exactly.
It's something, isn't it?
Megan, we actually had a question. You spoke about some of that proactive in the talent pool, and Kate has asked a question. She's relatively new to TA. So can you maybe just talk a little bit about, how do you talent pool? Any sort of key tips or takeaways, that you have in relation to that?
There's a couple. So, as I said, we've got a team who are going out to market and, proactive is reaching out and finding out what they're interested in, etc., and then putting them into that talent pool. We also have recently gone into our talent community as well and done searches on people who've recently joined the talent community who may not have applied for a role. And we're proactively reaching out to them as well. Obviously, they've had some interest to join our talent community. We want to jump on that straight away as well. So that's been really an activity that we've just been doing over the last probably couple of months and so forth, which is starting to pay off as well. So that's been really helpful. What the next stage for us is then working through a bit of a communications plan so we can keep the engagement as well, and that's about talking, to the candidates around, what's happening in the business, what are some of the cool projects that are coming on, some new technology into the business, et cetera, et cetera. So that's kind of the next phase for us. So we not only use it through the proactive research for the talent community, and then of course anyone who has applied through other campaigns, putting them in that as well and just managing that piece. So a few different channels
So I'm interested,
into that
Megan, how do you
panel.
go with your team? Because one of the challenges I've got is the balance of talent pooling versus recruiting. And
So
how do you go
part of
with
what
your
our
group?
model is at the moment is we've been able to kind of scale up and down. So where we feel at the moment where we weren't getting to that talent pooling and that proactive sense that we needed to, we've been able to bring in a couple more people to actually assist with that and being really fixed on that for us. So that's where the fortunate aspect has been with our scalability within our model to be able to do that. So because it is a fine line, because, you know, we get so caught up when we've got, as we were talking about the other day, David, when you've got, you know, people of our poor business partners have got 20, 30, 40 ATRs or requisitions at any one time, it can be reactive. So what we're trying to do is kind of bring in a team who can focus on that. And then that can slowly then bring the team back to then being able to concentrate on being a bit more proactive themselves. And also, you know, that kind of work's being done in the background for them, which is great. So that's where we've kind of got it. Because it's
that was the challenge I had. And
Yep.
I don't know if anyone else has had the experience where our SEEK account manager sat down with me and said, "You're spending too much money with us. You need to stop putting up ads every time." Yeah. And we were. And even she was saying that because what my team was doing, like you and I talked about, when you're running 30, 40 roles, you get a role, I have to post, I'll see what comes in. And that was our biggest challenge, has been that the talent pools are worth investing in, and you need to, as opposed to, you know, get job brief, post ad, see what comes in. And I don't know about you, Cam, but that's been one of the biggest challenges my team has trying to shift. And obviously, yeah, Megan, kudos to you for getting those additional resources. But it was trying to get that balance right of proactive pooling, so I don't have to keep spending money with SEEK as much as they love us. And because it actually, if you do it right, it saves you a lot of money.
It does. It
But
does.
it's
And I think
investment in time, isn't it?
it does. And I think it's also it's a mindset change for the team. But it's also for the hiring managers, because that tends to be a default. Let's get to SEEK, let's advertise. And only actually this week we've been talking about, okay, you know, let your hiring managers know you're going to put it in markets. It might be on the website, etc. Put it out through, you know, LinkedIn and so forth. But then use a couple of days to go and really jump in and utilize your talent pools, your community, your proactive searching before then we go to market. And it's that mindset change as well. It's kind of thinking, oh, okay, but I know that's out there and I've got applicants coming in, but then you've got to go through those applicants anyway. But if you spend the time going through who's already engaged with us, and it's just that change management piece, I think, from both the team, but also the hiring managers as well.
Excellent. We've got a couple of questions that have come in, and Brie has asked, you know, a question. Can you share any statistics on talent pool candidates who make it through to offer? Now, David, I had a bit of a conversation with your account director on this one, because you guys have some amazing results. Happy for you to share them, or do you want me to? Or
if you've got it handy, I don't have it handy.
I was looking at some of the conversion rates, you know, for you guys, and Gemini's conversion rates from talent pools through to hire is over 30%. And when you compare that with job boards, it's less than 1% of applicants.
I would believe that. That's consistent with the type of data that we see every month. It's working for us. It's working for us, and like Megan and I were just talking about, that's been the big part of, you know, let's not always hit up SEEK. So I
think it's amazing where you know, when you know, those pesky salespeople say you're spending too much money.
I know. I haven't had that yet, David.
No, she did. Yeah, she said you're spending too much money with us. It just means your team aren't using. Of course, she was trying to cross sell me into SEEK premium talent.
Yes.
And I mean, there was a. she didn't want me to spend less money. She just wanted me to distribute it differently. But we also, one thing we do though too is we have a really strong referral system.
Yep, great.
And that makes a difference, because that's where a lot of those are coming from too, is again for high volume too. If you can get a referral, makes a difference,
agreed.
doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Great. And in terms of some of the locations that you guys operate in, and Cam, we were discussing this yesterday. So some locations are a bit easier to find candidates than others, but what are we doing or are there any tricks or tips that you guys have for trying to attract or hire candidates in those hard to fill locations?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, unfortunately, there's no silver bullet to this because I think every geography has its little tweaks and differences. So I think it's really about tailoring and knowing that geography specifically. I mean, in my experience, generally across every business I've worked with, Canberra is always a pain to recruit for.
Impossible.
Impossible. Bloody Canberra. So my mum lives in Canberra. She has done so for a couple of years, and she said it is a huge thing in that area to not travel any more than 15 minutes to get to work. They just absolutely refuse. And at the moment in Essex, we've got a store in Fyshwick, which is a little bit further than 15 minutes out of Canberra City. So I am nearly, crying trying to get people in. So I think what we have what we're trialing at the moment is not so much targeting people from Canberra City. We are now pivoting to look at communities like Albury, Wodonga, and sort of more within, they're technically New South Wales actually, but there's nothing in Albury. So you sort of have to go towards Canberra to sort of find that role anyway. And we have seen some really good results in that space. I mean, again, it's not a game changer. We're just looking at a different area. So we've now shifted all of our advertising to specifically target that demographic. We're throwing a little bit of money at it. So we've got a social campaign out at the moment, and the digital agency have specifically focused on the Albury sort of region as opposed to Canberra. And those kinds of demographics, they're willing to do the slight commute, which by the way is only about 30 minutes. But like I said, in Canberra, they're just not interested. Another thing that we are coming up against at the moment is breaking through new areas. So we're doing quite a bit of expansion in Victoria at the moment. I mean, we're quite lucky in the sense of ASICS is a pretty well-established brand in Australia, but Knox, for example, in Victoria, we're opening up a store there, and one of the region managers was just doing some field work, and everyone in the centre didn't even know that we were coming. So as a result, no one's been applying to our job. So what we've done is we've gone out with another social campaign, which has had awesome results. But we've also worked with our centre management to leverage that relationship. So there's digital poster boxes all throughout the centre. We've got a boarded up sort of shop front, but again, it just says coming soon. There's no, plugging for how to apply if you are interested in that location. So we've activated all of that this week, and we're already seeing I looked at the stats this morning, applications have gone up by 21%. So super easy wins. They're not necessarily expensive sort of measures as well. So hopefully pretty achievable for everyone.
Yeah, it's good. We've also just recently had a drop-in recruitment day as well. So that was up in Gladstone, again, a more regional area for us. So we're just working through, what the outcomes are of that, and can we lift and shift that in other areas as well. It was really great for the candidate experience in terms of being able to have that real personal contact, one-on-one. Actually, there was like 6 of us there, all from different streams of the business, and that was quite effective as well.
Yeah, we find we really have to lean on our hiring managers in those locations. We've got some weird, wonderful ones. Roma, Tennant Creek was one of the roles we were recruiting for. So for us, it was around community partnerships and getting and locking into those community groups and community partnerships in those locations. So it wasn't about getting 1,000 applicants, because it was never going to happen.
No,
it was about being with the right community groups and having the right presence and the right connections to get maybe 5 or 6. And then, as you said, and then having the right contact to then to whittle that down to eventually the candidate that we're after. So
I'm conscious of time, guys. We've got 9 minutes left, and there's a few questions that have gone through the group, which we will, some of them we might not have time to cover. There was a question from Brittany for you, David. Can you just talk a bit more about the referral program and system that you guys have in place?
Yeah, so we have an internal referral program, which is in there. We're up to $5,000 a role. So
wow.
Once a person passes probation, we make a payment. That's what we're running at the moment, and it's pretty much open for most of our roles. You can go a little bit higher for some of our key roles, but we promote that internally. Works really, really well. A lot of our so I'm going to try and quote some numbers off the top of my head. I think 15% of all hires for us are referrals, direct referrals. And I think our hiring efficiency off referrals is 55% last month. So 55% of people that were referred to us got hired.
Yeah, wow, it's great.
Yeah, so it works really, really well. It's a simple, quick win. If you can get a hiring referral, you can throw, and it doesn't have to be a lot of money, in fairness. I don't think that's not what it's actually about. Yeah, $5,000 for us, that makes a difference to someone, but it doesn't have to be that amount. I think if you can harness that internal network, because I mean, it's the old story. I think we all know this, don't we? If you know someone works for you and they're a great hire, it's a good chance their referrals will be also a good fit too. So yeah, it's a nice quick win.
You're not going to refer somebody if you're looked after and you're doing well at work and you're enjoying yourself. You're not going to refer somebody unless you believe in them either, right?
That's right. Yeah, and they still have to pass probation anyway for us.
Yeah.
Too. So
agree.
So it works really, really well. We're actually the next one we're kind of throwing around, and I haven't yet got it up yet. Don't know if anyone else is doing it, but we're interested in like an alumni referral. So we don't have that yet, but I've kind of put that on our radar, which is, again, if you're an ex-employee of us and you like us and we like you, and I'm not saying I'll give you $5,000, but surely there's something in here if you saw a role and went, well, such and such would be perfect for this. So that's where we'd like to get to. Again, it's why we're all talking about it, isn't it? It's a qualified lead.
It is, and I think it's also not just putting the onus on it being talent acquisition as well. It's broadening it up to the business, so it just doesn't lie within talent acquisition to bring new people in and network and so forth as well. So I think that also brings that into it. Collectively as a business, we're all engaged in bringing talent into the business.
Great. The only place where we're struggling with it, just as a quick asterisk, is in diversity.
Okay.
That's the only place we're struggling with it. So the nature of our business, predominantly male. Okay. Engineering, trades, etc., etc. So most of the referrals that come in are, of course, male.
Yep.
So we're trying to then change that skew. Yes, we do get some females referred in, but that's where we're getting the balance, which is if it's like, well, we've got 6 males referred to us, but I've got some females here that we've taken from the open market. It's balancing that out. It's balancing that out to give those females or whatever in terms of other diversity and Indigenous. As we can keep working through all the different groups to get that equity in the process, as opposed to, I know such and such, I've worked with him before, let's give him the job. That's the only challenge.
Okay, excellent. All right. Again, we'll go through a couple of these questions. When it comes to graduate recruitment programs, do group members find, what is the best time of the year to start these programs? End of year, mid-year intakes in terms of candidate engagement and sort of workflow considerations and planning? I'll throw that one to you, Megan.
Well, probably the wrong person to throw it over to, because we're only just starting that campaign at the moment. But one thing with all of the discussions we are having, traditionally it was, March was the season to do it, was to launch it, etc. But that has now expanded across the year. There's no particular time that, that isn't a great time to do it. March still seems to be, where a lot of it does take place, but it's certainly now being spread across the year in different pockets as well. So I think if people, the key for that is don't panic if you haven't started that already. We're looking at launching ours a little bit later this year. So that's the information that I'm getting through and the sense of the market at the moment. But over to you guys who are a bit more experienced in that sense.
Cam, do you want to go?
Yeah, I mean, we typically follow the typical grad calendar. But yeah, my last year with Aldi, we just sort of followed suit to what Megan just said. But our biggest learning from that is if we are going out a bit earlier with our recruitment campaign or marketing campaign, but we're not going to actually start the active recruitment process for a couple of months, have a comms plan in place to keep people engaged.
Yeah.
We didn't do that, and the drop-off was pretty significant. So just make sure you've ticked that box if you are.
We found the same. We've actually pushed back a month this year. We went out in March last year. We're going April this year. We run an EOI through the whole year, so people can, as you said, Cam, and we say we kind of kick it off. What we found, believe it or not, last year our strategy was first to market, first offer. That was our plan. What we found though is that graduates keep looking, believe it or not. And then we were losing them. So we're like, yep, offer August, fantastic, that's great. And then we had to go again in September, for instance, because graduates would go, oh, I accept your offer, but now I've had this other one come through for people who are later. So one of the things we've decided to do this year in particular is push back a little bit, but now we're sharing more with our hiring managers and saying to them, you have to keep them engaged post-offer. If we send them a letter in August and you don't plan to talk to them in January, don't expect they're going to turn up. You have to keep them engaged. And I was telling Megan when we were chatting, there's another very large brand, a very, very well-known brand that we were swapping notes with. And they said they lose 30% of their graduates from offer to start date in the same way. And very, very large brand. And we just thought, wow, if they're losing that many, we're not doing too bad.
Wow.
That's again, too early, has its problems, too late, you're the last one there. So it's,
Excellent. All right. And a question that came in from Kate to the panel. Do we have any, I guess, any feedback when it comes to group interviews? Any quick tips, the do's, the don'ts, especially when, for large volume, casual employment?
We don't do them, so I don't have anything to offer on this one.
I think from our, sorry, I'll just jump in quickly. I think from our perspective, it's having the right people there in the room as well. So having the right decision makers to make sure that you've got the right mix of people, and you do have a mix of people. So there's, it eliminates some of that bias as well. So it's really having a look at who's going to be involved on the day to help from that screening process. I think that's one of the biggest tips that I can give. Cam, you guys obviously do quite a lot of it.
Yeah, absolutely agree with you there, Megan. So yeah, I've got a pretty hard and fast rule that the group interview, that's it. You've got to make your decision after that activity. So anything that we do within that hour's session I need to get confidence from the leadership team that they're going to get the right information from those activities. So I think, first of all, you need to consult with the people in the room prior to the group interview to say, what do you need to see from this day? Because if they feel like, oh, I could have asked this or we could have done that, so I better bring them back for another interview, I think that's already where we start to go wrong. So yeah, consult with the people in the room. Scrap out all of these fluffy little icebreakers that don't actually add any value. So I've seen it a million times, and I even did it myself. And then it was almost this year where I'm like, hang on, why have I been doing that for all this time? Where, you couple people up and they do the get to know you conversation and then they have to regurgitate it all out. I actually don't see much value in that. So yeah, it's really about making sure that you're curating those activities to actually pull out the information that you need and not just putting in time fillers, essentially. I mean, honestly, ChatGPT, chuck in a little sentence in there, and even ChatGPT can give you some amazing examples of what you can do that's session-based that can really extract those soft skills that everyone's asking about.
Excellent. Love it. Perfect. Guys, that brings us to bang on 2:00. So firstly, really appreciate you guys joining us for a conversation. To the few questions that we haven't been able to answer yet, I will follow up those questions and come back to you guys with answers. But again, Cam, Megan, David, thank you very much. Really appreciate it. And if anybody has any questions that we haven't covered off or any points that you would like to discuss afterwards, obviously, please reach out and we can connect you guys with the panel. All right, guys.
Great.
Take it easy and have a good afternoon. Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.